Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me. It's Debra Lynn here. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm on this kick, you guys, okay? And I was not even going to post this video. I usually will record everything I'm doing, okay? And I wasn't even going to post it. But I thought, you know what? I think you guys are really enjoying these abstracts right now. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to hold back on them. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys see this footage. So it's a little bit more, it's not as, the painting's not as vibrant as some of the others. This one gets a little moodier, okay? I end up using some really dark burgundy, and that's called Bordeaux by Daniel Smith. And so it gets kind of moody, a little bit. You have to let me know. Does it feel a little creepy? I think I'm going to call this one Out of the Ashes. So anyway, I have put down a wash. I'm putting down a wash of olive green by Magello Mission Gold. Love this color. So that, of course, is going down. And the water has been dripping down the dry piece of paper, okay? And I am going in and I'm running my wet paintbrush along the edge of some of the edges and loosening that up and then blending things out. As I said, and right there I have got Daniel Smith quinacridone gold going down. So I'm playing a little bit with that gold right now. And, oh, I lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. But on to the next thing. And now, well, I thought I was going to use a blue there, but that was just too vibrant. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of cobalt blue and some peacock blue, and I'm going to start laying that down in that upper left corner. And I want a lot of pigment, and I want a lot of water. I have some of you in the group, and I'm seeing some of your paintings, and you're a little frustrated because it's not looking anything like mine, and it's because you're not using enough water. You're not using enough pigment. You're not using enough water. You have to think of your paint in different consistencies when you're doing this. You're going to want some of your paint, and you have to use tube paint. You cannot use paint that's in a tin, in a little cube that you take the paper off, and it's in a pan set. It won't work. Don't frustrate. You're going to frustrate yourself, and it's not going to work. You need tube paint, okay? And if you get yourself professional, you'll have higher pigment intensities. If you use student grade, it's going to be a little bit chalkier looking. So keep that all in mind. But you're going to want a lot of water behind this, and you want different consistencies. Okay, you're going to want a consistency of, at times, things to be very thin like tea, like in that upper left-hand corner. It's very thin up there right now. And that's like the consistency of tea. So that pigment is very thinned out with a lot of water. So when I'm blending, those colors are very, very soft. Okay, then you can see consistencies that might be like coffee with cream. So it's got more intensity, it's a little bit heavier, and then there might be consistencies that are like heavy cream. Okay, it's a lot thicker, a lot of pigment. Okay, and then there's actual butter, okay, which is actually the pigment straight out of the tube that's going on your paper. So I use all those consistencies. I don't just use tea throughout my entire painting, because if I did that, I would have a ton of transparency, but the painting would probably feel a little flat. And so think about your consistencies. And I am working intuitively. And if you don't know what intuitive painting is, it's basically not having a preconceived idea of what you're going to paint. It's a matter of just being one with the paper, the water, the pigment, and just going on a journey with it all, and just dropping the pigments in and making sense out of what's on the paper. You could have something, you might have a hot mess and not be able to make anything of it. I've had that happen. But for the most part, the more you do it, the more you know how to control things. So you can actually produce a piece of work out of it. So more turquoise blue is going down. I'm just keep adding to this wash. So as you can see right now, I have not created a stem. I've not created a petal. I'm not creating anything. I'm basically creating a wash. And that is consisting of all those different colors that I want to use, kind of more in the background. And the intuitive stuff, like the last painting I did for the whole video, I had no idea what kind of flower I was painting. I thought I was doing some kind of like tulip or some bearded iris. I didn't know what I was creating until the painting was done and it was sitting there looking at me, and I realized those were the flowers that I had outside in my containers last season. And they were canna lilies. It didn't dawn on me until after I was all said and done. So it's kind of fun how those things can creep into your imagination and your work. It might have been something you had seen a long time ago, and it just emerges. So it's a fun way to paint, and it's a great way to learn how to paint also. It teaches you how to get the water flowing, how to work with different consistencies, how to look at a piece and turn it into something. Have you ever looked up into the sky when you were a kid and looked at the clouds and tried to find like a face in the cloud? Or maybe you look at a piece of marble and you can see like a face in the marble. I do that all the time. I look at things and I see, I guess I've always done that. And so I've got a trained eye for it. And if you don't have a trained eye for it, start looking at things differently. Start looking at that tile on your floor that might be stone flooring and see if you can see like different images in it. So it's all about training your eye to work intuitively. And sometimes when you're actually painting, you can't see it. Sometimes if you stop and take a picture of what you're working on and look at the picture, you'll get a different perspective and you might actually see something. So if you get in that stuck stage, take a quick picture, look at it, study it, see if there's something emerging, and then build on top of that. Now I have that Bordeaux out, and I'm just going with whatever I feel like doing. I want to see the paints blend out, flow, so I don't know what they are. And I still don't know exactly what they are or where these flowers are coming from. And they may be pure imagination, or they could be something I'd seen a long time ago. Now I believe I'm dropping in just a little bit of permanent yellow light, and it's mixing with the Bordeaux, and it's making kind of it's almost making a golden orangey color. And now I have my Neo crayons out, and I'm just scribbling. I'm just adding a little bit of scribble to my painting. A lot of this stuff ends up getting covered up, or maybe it'll peek through a little bit on the painting. It's just that little extra something in my art. And I didn't go all over the sheet. I was pretty controlled with that Neo color this time. For whatever reason, I don't know. Because I'm just working intuitively and it just happens. And now I have the palette knife out. I'm working with the actual edge, the flat part of the palette knife, and just dropping in pigment. So that blade, the flat part of the blade is just full of pigment. And I'm just dragging it and kind of smushing it around. And it's being dropped into wet 100% cotton paper. This is, I didn't know if I mentioned this earlier, it is Fabriano Artistico 140-pound cold press, half sheet. So it's a nice size sheet of paper. I suggest, if you can afford to do it, keep losing my voice. If you can afford to do a larger sheet of paper, then by all means break out and practice on larger sheets of paper. Or maybe you put them in quarters, because even a quarter size is doable. And now I'm just going in with that quill. It's really full of water, and I was just blending things out. Some more palette knife work. I know it's not a norm for a watercolorist to use a palette knife. But when it comes to loose painting, I find it very enjoyable. And it kind of can give you some very straight lines, controlled lines. So that's also kind of a neat thing. Now I'm just building the next flower bud. And again, it's kind of like the other one. It's got these long, dangly petals. Kind of creepy. It is a little creepy, isn't it? So I'm not sure. And I'm just building up kind of where the stamens or the flower, the top of the flower, building that up a little bit. And now I'm sprinkling the Bordeaux in. That's scary when you actually have that much pigment and you do drop it down, because it's red and it's going to stain and it's bold, and you have to embrace it, and you have to learn how to roll with it, or how to make something of it, or how to maybe tone it back down just a little bit. So right now you're seeing me just drag my quill with clean water, and I'm just thinning things out and creating some lines and some interest. A lot of water, you guys, a lot of water. I'm seeing a lot of paintings in the group where things are very dry. There's not a lot of water. So, okay, now right here, that peacock blue is going over the olive green, which is now, I'm putting that wash over the top of that, which is kind of It's making it kind of moody, isn't it? It's giving it kind of a dark peacock blue color. So I think that right there, those two layered together with that Bordeaux is where that takes this painting to kind of an eerie kind of painting. I'm going to name this one Out of the Ashes. So just because it has that dusk-like flowers at nighttime, at dusk, right before dusk, where the light's still filtering in, but it's starting to get dark and shadowy. And I'm just going in with some tissue and just blotting up probably excess water that's starting to pool. If I didn't do that, it would get real muddy and murky and get out of control. So you have to keep your eyes on the water and how it's reacting. So keep your eyes going all around your sheet of paper at all times, watching everything constantly. You have to be able to stop and start when you're doing paintings like this, okay? You have to switch gears. You can't be stuck on one thing and trying to make that one area perfect and precise while another area on your painting is suffering and dying. So keep your eyes open, keep your eyes peeled to what's going on. Now I'm just kind of blending everything out here. This area of my sheet of paper is very light and bright right now, but it does take a dramatic turn here real soon. And I have a lot of fun. That's the whole idea. Okay, now I have a lot of Bordeaux down, right? I grabbed Opera Pink, which is like a neon pink. And that is really going to set that Bordeaux off. So although it's still in that pinky red tones, there's that little bit of vibrancy, whereas the Bordeaux is a little bit dark and moody. So there's that juxtaposition that's happening, that they set off next to each other really nicely. So I loved those two colors together. Opera Pink and Bordeaux. Really pretty. And I'm just going in and doing some petal work here with the opera. And I am using a liner. It is a Winsor & Newton Sable liner. It's about 1.5 inches long. My hand is sitting probably halfway up on the brush. I do that. It keeps everything very loose. If you bring your hand closer down to where the actual brush is, you'll get tighter effects. The further your hand is away on your brush handle, the looser you'll be with your paintings. So also keep that in mind. I'm using the edge of the tube of paint right now. And what that's doing is it dropped in some paint that might be on the edge of that tube. I wasn't squeezing any paint out. I was just using what was on the edge, and it is also scoring kind of into the thick paint that's already on the paper and creating cool texture, but also maybe dropping in just a little extra pigment. And you have to be able to be using 100% cotton paper to be able to do that, because if you use that on just regular pulp paper, it is going to tear. Right now I'm just dropping in some Opera Pink. I'm just brightening up things and making some flowers in the background so it looks like something's happening further back in the painting. I'm not going to make them look like anything. They're just kind of blurred colors. I believe I have a little bit of permanent yellow light going down. I'm dropping in some yellow just to brighten up those flower heads a little bit. You can't see because my camera is cutting off my palette there. You have to forgive me. My workspace is not what I would want it to be. I'm working on a table that moves. It's temporary. All of my furnishings, my entire house is 1,600 miles away. So I'm working on a temporary table. And I'm having a hard time getting the tripod to hold my camera up high enough, and so sometimes everything's not in frame, so you'll have to forgive me for that. I'm doing the best I can with the limited stuff I have. I don't even have all of my studio supplies. I don't have any of my inks. I don't have any of my liquid acrylics. I'm like, I don't have a lot of stuff, but I'm making do with what I have, and if I really need something, then I go out and buy more. But I can't wait till spring when I can go get all my stuff, because I can't go get it now because they're just getting tons of snow out there in the Midwest, and I don't want to be driving a 27-foot Penske truck on bad roads. So I'll wait till spring. So until then, you guys get to watch me paint on this table that likes to shake. So now I'm just going in and I'm removing pigment. My brush is wet and it's clean. Well, it's dirty right now because it's going through all that pigment, but I'm just wiping it off, as you can see, onto my paper towel. That paper towel is kind of wet from my brushes. And it kind of has that, as the bottom quarter, you can see the ray marks, and so that's happening up in the top now. Here I go in and I'm doing a little bit more with that opera pink and just creating texture. Basically, I'm painting with the tube. Probably not the norm. You're not going to find normal here on my channel. And the people that know me are like, yeah, she's not normal. I have vouchers for that in my group. Now what I'm doing here, so I had those splatters of Bordeaux there, very dark. And I thought, you know what, now that they kind of dried a little bit, there's still a puddle there. But I'm just dropping in some of that opera pink, and it's kind of mixing on its own together in that paint. I'm not disturbing it. I'm not trying to change the shape of them or anything. I'm just dropping in just a little bit more pigment. And there I'm just adding just a little bit more opera pink. This brightens up that painting too. Like I said, there's that juxtaposition between that dark eeriness and then that vibrant pink. And now I'm going into sap green. It's a little bit darker, and if you use it in a little bit thicker consistency, it's a little bit darker. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of dragging that sap green down, creating kind of long, these are long flowers, long stems. And I don't make my stems so perfectly straight either. Not all flowers are perfectly straight stemmed. Okay, the fun part now. Now I'm going to connect the dots. I get to go back to being 4 years old and doing connect the dots. Oh. And I'm getting some more Bordeaux out. Oh, ooh boy. Yeah, I'm pretty bold, ain't I, to do that? Okay, now that it's down, I'm gonna have to do something with that. What am I gonna do? That's what I'm thinking. Oh, okay. Let's see. What can I do? Okay, I'll just connect that. And I'll connect some more dots. I'll just keep going with what I've been doing. Now I'm going to get my paintbrush out, get it nice and clean. And I'm just going to go in and loosen things up and make some kind of ray marks going through this area. Well, I decide I'm going to drop in just a little bit more of that pink, opera pink. And there I go, making the kind of same shape as the other ones. Not giving them much information, just a little bit of something. And grabbing a little bit of Bordeaux, dropping some Bordeaux in. there I go. Now I start making some of those rays. And I'm dragging it right through and up to the outer edge. Doing the same that direction. Just kind of dry brushing, picking up the pigment, blotting it off. So now that craziness of what I created there on that bottom right-hand side is getting kind of blurred out. So it wasn't making much sense. It was just looking wacky. But by doing that, I've just calmed it all down. Making some small fine lines there for texture. Just that little interest, so if somebody was standing up close, they'd see it. And then I decide I hate it, which I actually liked it now. Why are you getting rid of it? Because at where I'm sitting or standing, I'm like, no, don't like it. But it could have been really cool. Now I'm just building on top. So something's in front of that blurriness. So the blurriness is in the background. And there's just a couple little twigs in the front of it. Now I'm pushing it. Now I have my spray ink. It's Delusions ink. Now I want to tell you about this ink. If you guys use this, you have to put a UV protection on your painting. So you'll have to go buy yourself some Winsor Newton or some kind of UV protective spray and just spray your painting so it protects it. And when you put it behind glass, put it behind UV protective glass, and do not put your painting in the sunlight. Or you could probably make your own spray ink also. You know, you could just use regular Indian ink and probably thin it out somehow and make your own spray. You can be creative with all your art materials. Use it in different ways. Now it's just Dr. P.H. Martin going down. And I have a flicking motion that I do too. So I'm flicking it in the direction of those rays. So I just kind of flick it back towards my wrist, and it causes streak marks then. And I also have the dots. So those will blend out. They're sitting in that heavy turquoise pigment, and that gives a cool effect to the painting. And some more opera pink being played out here. And some sap green. And just a few details. If somebody said, what paint brushes would you want? I'd have to have my quill, I'd have to have my liner, and I'd have to have my number 12. Those are my number 12 round. Those are the ones that I tend to favor the most. And now I'm just going in and just doing little details, last minute stuff. So I'm nearing completion of my painting, you guys, here. I'm nearing completion here of my painting. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. In the meantime, it's be safe out there. We're living in a crazy world right now. I wish we were not, but we are. So be safe, stay well, and may God bless you guys all mightily.